Yes, exciting, going to be exciting, looking forward to be exciting, warming up to be exciting episode of our podcast, our program, our live stream on, well, both Nostalgia Media. What's going on? Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. This is your program, our program. Say prayer, guys. May Nigeria never happen to you. Okay, thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us. I want to say at the top before I actually get to start, for you to make comments, because I've received loads and loads of comments, direct messaging, all of that from last week to now. For you to make comments on this program, well, my guys, the technical people, me, I'm just, I just come here and talk. Well, they set this up to be that you could only make comments on this live stream on this particular program if you are subscribed. Subscription is free, by the way, so it's not as if they're asking you to pay any money. It's just that, well, like we've always said, support this program, support us, and be here, engage. Okay, these are issues that concern us. You're a Nigerian, you're a friend of Nigeria. The issues we raise in this program concern us, have given some of us sleepless nights over time. So welcome all our friends on YouTube, welcome all our friends on TikTok, okay? Welcome, guys. Just be sure to leave your comments. You need to subscribe to be able to contribute, to be able to leave your comments and be part of this live stream, okay? So thank you. My name is Richie Adewusi. I'm not going to be alone here. I didn't start alone. I wouldn't continue alone. Okay, I'm going to be joined by, well, two people. Well, to be three people, but the third person had a sudden medical related appointment that couldn't be shelved, and we are happy, and that's Black Rice. So I'm going to be joined here on this live stream. My two friends who, you see those pictures you see behind me, they are real. They are not internet AI generated. That is me somewhere there. And so in the course of the stream, we get into all of that. I'm going to be joined by two people, two very, very fantastic human beings. I don't flatter. I don't flatter. Okay, these are people that I don't know if they realize it. I didn't really realize this till like 2 or 3 days ago. It was 40 years ago, this month, 40 years, 2 decades, exactly this month that we met at a place called Bodinga, okay, in Old Sokoto State, Southwest Nigeria, for our National Youth Service Program. And when it occurred to me, I felt very humble. 40 years we've been on this struggle, on this activism, on this march, keeping our heads, not losing it, not joining them. You know, they say if you can't beat them, join them. 40 years. 40 years, Lekan Otufodunrin. 40 years. 40 years, Okechukwu Uwaezuoke. 40 years, that's Okechukwu Uwaezuoke and myself playing chess at Bodinga. The picture you see right behind me, okay, but which one? How is the camera facing? To my left, to my right? Well, you see people playing chess. That's Okechukwu Uwaezuoke and myself. So they're joining me here. So we are solid. We are real. We are not phantoms. So a protest I started about 40 years ago to say we are not a wasted generation. I have something to say and I can shout more now. I can say that my friend Lekan Otufodunrin is an accomplished, iconic veteran journalist, training other corps of journalists. I can say that my friend Okechukwu Uwaezuoke is a veteran, iconic journalist, okay, inspiring young artists. I mean, fine artists, sculptors, molders to be their best, to the journalism, that aspect. So they're going to join me here. We're going to be telling our stories of what we mean to our individual selves about how Nigeria happened to us. I'm going to start that charge today. How Nigeria happened to me and how Nigeria happened for me, looking through the prisms of the National Youth Service Program, or having the National Youth Service Program in perspective, okay, in focus. And then we will take issues arising from those. Hang tight, okay, enjoy yourself, but most importantly, please subscribe and prepare to engage. The issues we're raising here, I repeat, concern all of us. This is not a feel-good program. This is a call to action. This is a call. We're not just telling stories. You see, people say, what you want to achieve by telling stories? What story? Everything you see in life started with some kind of story or the other. Okay? So we want to go on this series of the quest for one Nigeria. This is, if you like, part one of the quest for one Nigeria. Because again, the last live stream, if you remember, those of you who followed us, and for those who were not with us here, I would remind us. The last live stream, our guest, who is unavoidably absent today, like I said, had a medical appointment that couldn't be shifted. That was actually fixed before today. Black Rice, Osagie, made some comments. And even on that particular stream, I'll try to draw his attention to the fact that he was mentioning a particular group, in Nigeria as the problem no. And I kept telling him, no, there are other people from other leaders from other parts of Nigeria have been at the helm of affairs in Nigeria. What changed? Okay, so he got me thinking, and I'm like, okay, let's handle this. Let's look at this from the beginning. Let's look at it from the beginning. Yes, there was a problem. Okay, there was a problem. Something led to the Civil War. Yes, there was a Civil War. But after the Civil War, the people in charge of Nigeria, however, well, I must also say that that Civil War, hi guys, thank you for joining. Thank you guys for joining on TikTok, okay? Be here, engage. I will come to take your questions, take your contributions, just like I'll take the ones from YouTube, okay? The people who were in charge of Nigeria then saw it wise to say that, well, hostilities are ceased, have stopped. We are agreeing on no victor, no vanquish. That's the status. That's who we are. We have to be a nation. We have to move on. We have to build. And they were wise enough to think about certain programs that would bring people together, that should bring people together. The National Youth Service Corps program is one of such. If you go to research age grade societies or age groups societies, you will see that the people who thought about starting such groups, such societies, were like, okay, this cohort should be able to think alike, do things alike, maybe take whatever group they represent the interest, forward, maybe better than the last one. In my mind, that must have been some of the things that inspired the people that started the NYSC core program in Nigeria. And it should work. It should work. But then, to respond to Osagie and other people, other Nigerians, friends of Nigeria, well, not so friendly people when it comes to issues of Nigeria. The issue of Nigeria is not one tribe. It's not. And we will see that as we go on, on this program. We will see that as we go on this program. Okay. So I'm going to tell you two stories, like I said, of my experiences with the youth service. The very first one had nothing to do with me about being at the youth service. So I'm welcoming our guest now. Lekan is here with us. It's in the house already. Mr. Otufodunrin, you're welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us. It's such a pleasure to it's such a pleasure, my brother. Do you believe it could have been 40 years?
Well, thank you. Can you hear me?
Okay. You're muted. You're muted. Unmute yourself, please.
I think I've unmuted myself.
Sorry. You need to unmute yourself. I'm just still checking to see.
I'm not muted.
Let's see.
You should hear me now.
No, it's from your side. You need to unmute yourself from your side.
I don't know why I am not muted. Now I'm not muted.
Go ahead.
Let's see what happened.
Okay, you're okay now. I can hear you now.
Okay, so it's my pleasure to be here. And just like you are saying, it's 40 years. I was hurrying to find my own evidence of 40 years. And interestingly, I have them just right here. So if you look at this picture, this is you in the magazine that we did.
Wow!
This is the drama unit, Smiles and Frowns, written by you. This is our magazine.
40 years.
40 years
Thank
ago.
you.
I want to show the cover of the magazine. So this is Corps. This is Sokoto Corpers that we did back then.
Thank you so much, my brother. Years. Thank you. And then some people actually say that we are wasted generation, Nabi.
These are pictures of when we were in camp.
Wow.
Somewhere there. So many evidence, and we are glad that we are alive to tell these stories.
Whoa! See this young one, and see the person behind the picture. Yeah. He hasn't changed. Don't worry, there's no change. Okay. Welcome, my brother. Welcome, my brother. So we like I was saying, the people who designed the NYSC program had this kind of exchanges. Look at your journey in journalism. Look at how you've come. Okay, you left footmarks that others, you don't even need to speak. People will speak on your behalf about who you are. Yeah. But go back to some of the people who are leading us. Who are they? Where are they coming from? So why do we think we can expect magic? Okay, these things have a bearing. We are not here to pick up on any individual. Our interest is Nigeria. Our interest is, that nation, Nigeria, is the development of Nigeria. So anything that stands in the way of development of Nigeria, of course, he is a challenge. I said in the last episode, people who know me know, I started business in protest and went to business in protest, publishing a magazine, okay? Profiling young Nigerians who are doing things to say, look, we can get things done if we are given a chance. But, You know, as time went on, you find out that nobody gives you any chance. Eh? You have to take the chance. But taking the chance now has become, Mr. Otufodunrin, you've turned upside down. Okay.
Don't worry.
You were okay before. Okay, you're okay now. You're very okay now. Okay. So when we look at cohorts are supposed to inspire, encourage, carry themselves along, speak to themselves. Okay. When you look at the people you went to school with, the youth service program and all of that, what people are doing, how you want somebody to help. You are here. We're talking now. You're here. I can't go to seek for anybody that doesn't have any experience about what I'm talking about. So you come and for this particular episode, you're here. So that also has impacted on us, all of us as Nigerians, because you can't give what you don't have. Let's agree on that. You cannot agree. You cannot give what you do not have. We've substantially had people who don't love Nigeria. Seriously, who you question their patriotism in the first place about how they carry on. But then let's not, I have introduced you. Okechukwu will join us. He's on his way. He's caught up in some traffic. He sent some messages, so he will be here. He will join us in the course of the program. So first, again, we didn't start the talking. People have been speaking. People have been encouraging. The NYSC was established. Let's see. Let's forget about what we have done as the elders of the country, as elders, as parents. Let's see what our children are going to do. Let's get them to get together, understand themselves, speak to themselves. Chances are that going forward, they will not behave the way we have behaved. That's summarized in my own words, the NYSC. Okay? Now, it's like people continuing to blame the colonialists for creating Nigeria. Okay? They are gone. If you talk about neo-colonialism, neo cannot mean nothing if there are no accomplices, if there are no saboteurs. Okay? They have to use part of you to be able to sabotage your progress. So why are these people able to find part of us that they continue to use to sabotage our collective, our commonwealth? Okay? So it's like a lot of our parents are not rich. Most of us, our parents did not go to school. Okay? So we did not say because our parents did not go to school or our parents are not rich, so we too would not be rich. We too will not be. We aspire to be better than our parents, to do things that our parents only wish they could do. That's a family. You do not say because I was born into a family, that's struggling. Okay, I'm going to remain struggling for the no. But that's what we are saying to Nigeria. That's how we are behaving in Nigeria. I don't care about any other place right now. We're talking about Nigeria. That's how we're behaving. Because our parents are poor, because the people who are before us did X, Y, Z, we must. No, the people who designed the NYSC, yes, there were problems. Yeah, there have been coups. We have fought this war. Can we move on? Can we look for common ground? They created institutions, created programs. And that's why this is part one. We're going to go into other things that they put in place in the other parts of this quest for one Nigeria to ensure or to encourage that the creation, the advent of that oneness. Okay? Like I said, we can't claim to be the first set of people that started speaking, started shouting, even for our generation. No. Okay. Today we are featuring somebody. She's no longer here with us. But each time I heard that song, I'm like, wow. Wow. That song was released about the same year that, we graduated or passed out from the NYSC. One Love was released in 1986. We all finished our youth service in 1986. Onyeka Onwenu One Love. We danced just like we danced to the music of a whole lot of the prophets, the seers that have seen things and say, please don't let us go this way, let's go this way. We just dance to the lyrics of their songs. We don't pay attention. We dance to the rhythm. We don't pay attention to the lyrics. So we have put together, a video on Onyeka Onwenu and the whole idea and concept of the National Youth Service Program. Okay, so I invite you to relax and enjoy it. Then we'll return and continue. Thank you.
Onyeka Onwenu, fondly known as the Elegant Stallion, was one of Nigeria's most celebrated voices. Born on January 17, 1952. She was from Obosi, Anambra State, southeast Nigeria. She passed away on July 30, 2024, in Lagos, southwest Nigeria. She lived 72 remarkable years as a singer, actress, journalist, and activist. Through her art, she became a national treasure and a voice for social justice. Her 1986 hit song, One Love, was more than just a song.
One love, keep us together. Living in a world, it's a struggle just staying alive.
It was a call for peace, for unity, for hope, a reminder that love is the solution to conflict and division. The lyrics of that song encouraged Nigerians to look beyond the shadows of the past and embrace a brighter tomorrow built on mutual respect and togetherness. That same vision for unity inspired the creation of the National Youth Service Corps in 1973 by the then military head of state of Nigeria, General Yakubu Gowon. After the Nigerian Civil War, known as the Biafra War, the National Youth Service Corps, NYSC, was founded and designed to help heal wounds from the war, promote reconciliation, and bring young Nigerians together beyond tribe, tongue, and religion. For decades, the NYSC has stood as a symbol of service, national integration, and nation-building, giving Nigerian university and polytechnic graduates opportunities to serve outside their regions, and therefore experience the spectrum of Nigeria's diversity. But today, that dream seems broken. The NYSC faces mounting criticisms and challenges ranging from security and safety issues regarding the postings of Corps members, to poor welfare and disillusionment among Corps members. What was once meant to be a bridge for unity has, for many, become a basin of fear, diverse kinds of hardships, and then even existential challenges, with some Corps members having lost their lives in unacceptable circumstances, whilst on national service. This present scenario is leading young Nigerians and their parents to question if the scheme is still fulfilling its founding purposes. This is where Onyeka Onwenu's message strikes deeply. Her call for one love to keep us together still echoes almost 40 years later. Yet, instead of unity, Nigeria continues to struggle with distrust and divisions, mostly contrived through parochialism feasting off tribal and religious bigotry, no one being held accountable for perpetrating the continuous and cyclic warfare on Nigeria and Nigerians, by the troublers of Nigeria. Onyeka Onwenu's voice reminds us of what we were meant to be, one people bound by love. The NYSC's mission and Onyeka's song both challenge us with the same question: when will Nigerians truly live as one?
back live on YouTube. Thank you guys for remaining with us. What do we make of the video? What do we think? What do we think? Interestingly, okay. Well, sorry, you can only join the stream on YouTube, please. You can only join the stream on YouTube or via TikTok, okay? You can join the stream on YouTube. We only have specific or rather specially invited people to be with us in the studio. Okay, you want to join us, please go to YouTube, register, subscribe, and then make your comments. Okay, you're still on the live, but you might not be in the studio, but then you are live, okay, on YouTube and TikTok. Please go subscribe, and then you can make your comments. Okay, you can make your comments, you can make your contributions once you are subscribed. Thank you so very much. Okay, so we'll continue. Welcome back from watching the video. Like I said, I am the chief storyteller today. Oh, well, Lekan myself will tell our story. Look, Lekan has introduced part of the story. This is us during youth service. Yes, I had even forgotten I wrote any article for the NYSC newsletter to start with. Okay, and my story of how Nigeria happened to me, if I have to factor in the National Youth Service Program, wasn't about me as a youth corper. In 1979-80, I was in secondary school. I was in my final year to do what we call the West African Examination Council exam, WAEC, at the Lagos Baptist Secondary School, Orile Agege in Lagos. That story, that school, part 2 of this program, will talk more about that school, of how Nigeria always almost also happened to me because I went to that school when I, decided to, or not decided, when I had to continue with my education. Okay, so in the school, I was an athlete, well, a top athlete in the school, yes. I was a house prefect of my house, the Blue House, Akapo House. We had youth corps members sent, to the school. Youth corps were, of course, the National Youth Service Program. Schools where the educational sector was a major intake for corps members. I was a teacher. During my primary assignment was teaching, I taught English at Sultan Abubakar College. So I'll come to that later. So now we had our games master, Mr. Shua, was from present Benue State. Was a Tiv man, a tribe in Nigeria called the Tivs. So, Benue State is in north central Nigeria. It was, at that time, 1979, the youth service, the National Youth Corps Program was just about 6 years old. It started in 1973. Yes, 1973, 1979, that's 6 years. So the program was still relatively new. It was okay, don't go, just like it's been said in the video, so that you know other parts of Nigeria, you meet other people. Youth Corps members were respected, highly, supported in most places. But in this school, Mr. Shua wasn't just my games master. He became my personal athletic coach. I was a sprinter. I did the high hurdles. I was quite good at them. And an event happened. An incident happened. We were planning for inter-house sports. One of the students who was in my house, who was actually one of the top athletes in my house, like I said, Blue House, Akapo House, became pregnant. Well, yeah. So, and there were many issues surrounding it. I got to my own point was, why are you not training? What's going on? Why are you finding it difficult to make the speeds you are making? She wasn't related. And at some point, she now, Richard, that's in secondary school, was Richard, it was not Richie. Secondary school, not high school, not the university. Richard, I don't know how to say this. Okay, what? Eventually, it came out. She found out she was pregnant. Wow. What are we going to do? Your parents and all of that. Well, long story short, fingers were pointed at Mr. Shua, the youth corper. He was the one that impregnated her. And yes, I was a student. As a student too, you know yourselves. You have an idea of what people are doing. If you went to school, you know what is happening with your mates, with people, even the ones that are not your mates. And I was like, this is not possible. Mr. Shua, first of all, was a married man. He actually had 2 wives, had children. He was living in the school. The wives come periodically visit him and go. But I started to sniff around and I found out that he was an entirely different corper that was responsible for what had happened. But because Mr. Shua looked, well, maybe more responsible, whatever, and made the error, just like the girl came to me to say, oh, Senior Richard, I have a problem. What do I mean? What? Mr. Shua, Good Samaritan, sent her to another corper, gave her a note to another corper who was a medical doctor. So that note, even at that time, even at that young age, I still told Mr. Shua, wow, you shouldn't have done that, because for whatever reason, all reasons, the girl should go and meet her parents and sort herself out and all of that. That note he gave became the rope with which they framed him as the one who was responsible for the girl's pregnancy. And the school started to threaten him, including the principal. The principal, Mr. Uwaezuoke, there's somebody in government in Nigeria right now, Dele Alake, that was his father, was my principal. He was my father's friend. And I'm like, this is not true. This is what has happened. I'm not there, but then from even the girl herself, well, but they made her to insist that it was Mr. Shua that impregnated her, the corper. So how Nigeria happened to me over it, Nigeria had already happened to the corper, okay? Because the thing was that they were insisting he was going to take care of the girl when she gives birth. His allowance would be divided, give to sustain the girl and the child. This is not fair. And I insisted. So those who talk about activism didn't start today. It didn't. And it's always about, this is not right. Okay? And then we were already doing our practicals for our final exams. The principal sent for me in his office, and I went. First, remember, as a house prefect, remember, I was fairly not unknown in the school, okay? The head boy, my classmates, some of my, mates then, there's somebody prominent in Nollywood there now, Billy Antalani. Okay, he doesn't like to call Billy. Sorry, I apologize. And Talani was our head boy, was my classmate. You know, he knows this story. And Richard, yes, sir. Why are you supporting that instead of your sister? Excuse me? Our principal was a very fearsome disciplinarian. So if anybody knew him, I like him, you know. But again, because of also in the school, I was outstanding. I'm sorry, but it's true. So there was still that, come, you are supposed to support your sister, my sister. This is not right. This man was not responsible for it. He said, well, he said it in Yoruba. And I remember it. This is how many? This is over 40 years. If the NYSC is 40 years old, this is 40 years. He said, Otitowo boyo, you have put your hands inside something that would hurt your hands. For saying that this man, well, I left. He said, go away. For not supporting their gang up against a UCOPA? Was that what the service program was meant? This guy left Benue State, is in Lagos State. He's serving. Trusting you, you are the head of the school, and then you are ganging up to frame him. He was framing. I can say it. I said it then, I'm saying it now. I was doing my chemistry practical. It was my turn. As I was about to start, because we had a very small laboratory, as I was about to start, policemen came to the school. And they came to take me from the lab. I'm doing my final year exam. Principal, my father's friend, head of school, allowed policemen over some. They insisted I must follow them to Elere. The police station then was called Elere. I think it's still there in Lagos, Southwest Nigeria, to write statements, since I'm so sure that I know I'm there when I wasn't afraid really, because I knew what I was talking about. I followed them to the station. For the first time in my life, I was how old? 19 or so. I wrote statements that, yes, it's not Mr. Shua. This is what I know. This is what I know. And the policemen, for some, I didn't understand it then. They were pleased that I was, you know, a student. Okay. The police drove me back to the school. And they insisted, yeah, my exams, okay, that they took me now is practical. Okay. So they made it possible for me to do my chemistry practical. Maybe I would have scored better than I scored in chemistry. Yeah, I was fairly good. I ended up scoring a C in chemistry with a pass, it's credit. But then maybe I scored A in the other science subjects that I did. Maybe it would have been different. Now, Mr. Shua ended up having his service extended. He ended up having his allowance cut to be sent to the girl. Even when he has sent protest letters to, I think it was Senator then, you know, one of the popular foremost politicians from Benue State at that time was J.S. Tarker. Mr. Shua wrote him. I saw the response to the principal before Mr. Shua took it to him and all of that. Yet this happened. This isn't what, this is not what the service was. So for those who are saying the problem of Nigeria is one particular tribe, it's what we do as individuals that determine where we are going or where we end up not going. It's individuals. It's these little things. It's our interpersonal relationship issues that are there. This was someone who was sent to serve. Did he do everything right? No. But should what happened to him have happened? I don't think so. Should what happened to me, a student, for doing what? For saying the truth? Happen? No. But that is it in Nigeria. You stand for what is right. You are, it's you that will, carry the load. The ones that are guilty walk away. The youth corper who was actually the person who was responsible for the girl's pregnancy and all of that, finished his service. There was no extension. Nobody went to him for anything. They didn't, bother with him. Okay? But that is not what should happen. Okay? So, Mr. Otufodunrin, I believe you had the story. At this point, we'll take feedback from that story, from what you think, looking at the issue of national unity, looking at the NYSC, looking at that particular incident. That's, for me, that's Nigeria happening to me, and that youth corper. Okay? So at this point, what's your take?
Well, let me start by thanking you for this opportunity to share my view on the topic that we are discussing. I'm one of the very fanatical supporters of NYSC. I insist and I tell everybody who cares to listen that it's one of the best things that happened to me. That was the first time I had the opportunity of leaving Lagos fully. I grew up in Lagos. I am from Ogun State. I never left that axis, probably just also went to Ibadan, but I went to the old Sokoto State, like you said. And just a few days ago, I was in a gathering, and some people were speaking Hausa, and I was telling them I can speak a bit of it. They say, how? I said, I learned some of these things 40 years ago. I learned all the small Hausa that I learned today. So I think it's one of the things. Yes, there have been so many things that have happened over the years. There have been issues in the country, there have been safety issues that no longer make it possible. Like back then, when we were in NYSC, I remember we went to Ilorin for a football competition. We were coming back, our vehicle broke down in the middle of the road. We slept on the main road, and we had no fares. That was Nigeria for you back then, but such things are no longer as easy as before. But the point is that we can't deny that this is our country. People say, so this is our country, and the incident you have cited is an example of how it doesn't matter where people come from. What you believe, you will say. If your family members commit an offense, feel free to say he has done so. If somebody that is not of your tribe did not say something, feel free to defend that person, because you have at some point account to your God what you do. So for me, the issue of nationality is something that's very, very important. We do not deny issues that we have. We do not deny leadership problem. We do not deny that there are deprivations. But what we know that even within this Nigeria that we talk, there are opportunities to thrive. There are people also reinventing their situation. Sometimes many things that people do today, they make it look as if it's new. It's not new. Japa is not new. People have been going abroad since even when Nigeria was better than this. People have been going abroad. People have gone, they've come back. So many things that people talk about these days. So the important thing is that we must stay true to whatever we believe. And electricity should not divide us. It should not divide us. We should be free to say, if the person in government is from our area and is not doing well, we should be able to say so. And if he's doing well, we should be able to say so. If there's opportunity to correct them, we should be able to say so. But to make it seem as if the worst thing that can ever happen to you is because you are born in Nigeria, I don't share that kind of view. People should know that even the country people are running to, some people build it. And that's why, exactly. Unfortunately, when some of us go to those places, we export our prejudices and all those kind of things, and they find us not accommodating to be able to live with them. So it's important that we appreciate that policies in the past, I tell people, but for the challenges, as bad as NYSC, as bad as situation might have been now, There are young people who will swear that they want to go, not necessarily because of the money, but because they also want to see another part of this country. You know, they want to be able to say they are true Nigerians. And that's why it's important for us to keep reminding ourselves about where we are coming from and what we can salvage from the past and how we can return Nigeria to that dream that many of us, you know, today people talk about going abroad for education. I don't have any problem with that. But in this same country, we went to public primary school, we went to public secondary school, we went to public universities, and we are not worse for it. We are not worse than people who went abroad. You know, so it's important that we can create things. I tell people, and a part of the things that we have lost is that we have not been able to replicate even the sacrifice of people of old. So, very small thing. I went to a secondary school called Christ Apostolic Grammar School in Kweburemo. I bet many people will probably have not heard about that. And here I am talking, you know, haven't done all the years that we have done. Just some people in a community came together, some church people, and established that school. And I went from Lagos to do entrance exam. You know, people made sacrifice, people make their countries worth, irrespective of government policies and things like that. So I would like to stop there in case there are some other questions, but to say that it's important that we appreciate that we have a country, it can be better, but we cannot destroy it. Yorubas have a saying that so we can't sell our country cheap and expect people to respect us. Because when we sell it cheap, when we go there, they'll tell us to go back to our country. Yeah. South Africans are telling us that they don't care what we did for them in the past. They don't even know the sacrifice that we made. Yep. You know, they are wondering if we were that good, why are we coming to their country? Mm-hmm. So those are the nuances, those are the things that have come up, and there's work to be done to make Nigeria better. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lekan. Thank you so much, Mr. Otufodunrin. Thank you so much. Well, we're beginning to have questions or contributions coming from, but then please just hold it, because again, I'm now going to tell you how Nigeria happened for me. Okay, because when we designed this program, people were, "Oh, Richie, what's wrong with you? You know, why do you always look for opportunity to run Nigeria down?" And I tell them, I say, have you looked very well? Have you gone to check very well? Do you know? Have you gone to check? This person you're saying is not running Nigeria down, or all you do is about running Nigeria down. Have you really, you know, looked at if it is true that what he's doing is what he's been doing is? I've been on the forefront of carrying Nigeria off my head, because even some of those in government now used to say, "You people are the nationalists," and all of that. Well, okay. But again, sorry, I think I have removed the pin. Yes, okay. We have shortchanged ourselves in so many ways. Lekan said, we have not even met up with what the people who are before us did, which is true. We have busied ourselves with breaking down even the little effort they tried to make. Meanwhile, blaming them for whatever wrongs we're doing now, wrong. Now, I told Mr. Shua's story. I talked about Bodinga. I left Lagos Baptist Secondary School. I went to do my A-levels at Federal Government College. We'll talk about that, yes, maybe in part 2 of this Quest for One Nigeria. And went to the University of Lagos. And then it was time for youth service. I was posted to, yes, Sokoto State, old Sokoto State, South, Northwest Nigeria. And once it was like, whoa, I don't want to leave Lagos. I don't want to go anywhere from some of my friends. I'm like, like Lekan said, I was excited. I want to see Nigeria. And to help me, my dad was like, well, don't worry. It's a nice place. Incidentally, he had worked for some time in Sokoto, around the Northwest area, with the late Professor Olikwe and some Kuti, when the professor was developing what now became known, what has now become known as the primary health care program. They were doing the field. So my father was in the field team. They were doing surveys that eventually crystallized into what that program is today. And he said, don't worry, yes, it's 5 years. It could be hot, but this is what you do. This is what you can do. Yes, there are a lot of flights. Yes, but then he prepared me. He didn't say you can go. It's too far. I wasn't also, he helped me. I arrived in Sokoto the same day with this young man I'm playing chess with. I hope he joins us. He gets out of traffic and is able to be here before we end the stream. Okechukwu Uwaezuoke. We arrived in the same way at the water park. It was late. Well, it was in the wee hours of the night, and then we had to spend time. I brought down my chessboard and we started playing chess through the night there. Eventually, we ended up in Bodinga, finish our, if you like, orientation camp. We were in camp when it was announced that there was a coup. Well, change of government. Babangida came to power, somebody else was out of power. So a lot of things happened within that time period. While we were still in camp, I was head of socials, just like, I didn't even know I wrote any article. Mr. Otufodunrin headed the publication committee. I headed the socials committee during the service year. And I don't know what Sokoto looks like now, but Sokoto 40 years ago was not. If you come from a place like Lagos, from most of the southern parts, even some of the other middle belt parts, Sokoto is reserved, very conservative and all of that. Fine. But when camp, social committee was my headache to make the camp interesting. I used to dance. So we would choreograph dances. After dinner, we would present the dance we choreographed to the corpers, keep the place going. So we now needed, there came a suggestion, an idea that, we do a pageant, Mr. NYSC Sokoto. And people were like, Richie, you are crazy. In this place, how are we going to find money? We go to town. And we designed the program. And my committee members agreed, okay, let's do it. Okay. And we divided ourselves into groups to go to town to look for people who support us to, fund the pageant. I was grouped to a part of Sokoto town. Some other corpers, like Saidat or Dauphin, went to Wuruno, then South Sudan, Wuruno. There was a soft drink, I think it was Tandy. Was it Tandy? I can't remember. The soft drink company. They went there and they gave us so much drinks I couldn't even finish even after the pressure. It was so much, I remember, and I took with some other team members, Sokoto. I ended up in places like Ibro hotels. That was how I met Alhaji Ibrahim Idris. That's how he became my friend. He owned Ibro Furniture and Ibro Hotels that time. I didn't build the Abuja Hotel that time. And Alhaji Ibrahim Idris actually eventually became our main sponsor for that pageant. He provided all the prizes for all the winners and then hosted the Queen to the gala night at Ibro Hotel. But then adjoining Ibro Hotel then was NTC, Nigerian Tobacco Company. And the regional marketing manager of NTC then, because we were going from company to company looking for, I went there I met him, was very welcoming, asked a lot of questions about my person, and then what we wanted to do. I said, okay, well, they can't give us money, but they'll give us cigarettes. I don't smoke. Well, I had a lot of friends who smoke, and then, of course, you could always sell the cigarette. People smoke. They gave us so much cigarettes, and even from that day, every month, they allocated some rolls of cigarette to me. every month. I don't smoke. So a lot of friends who smoke became closer. So of course, but the story here is that because of that, one thing led me there. Alhaji Matazu took interest in me, just like Alhaji Ibrahim Idris took interest in me. I will tell the story of Alhaji Ibrahim Idris another day, another stream. But today, one day, Alhaji Matazu sent for me. And I went to his office. We've left orientation. I served in Sokoto town. I was a teacher in Sultan Abubakar College, just not far from Botibro Hotel and then the NTC, offices that time. Abdai Fodio Road in Sokoto. Sultan Abubakar lived in the school, so both of them, Alhaji Ibrahim Idris and Alhaji Matazu, could send people to me if they wanted to see me, or I just generally go to their places of work at will when I'm not working. I always have one thing or the other to suggest to them. Alhaji Ibrahim Idris built the banquet hall that was there because I prompted him. It was his furniture showroom. And like, how can you have a hotel and there's no banquet hall? Adi, you mean it? Yeah, he changed it. He built the banquet hall. Well, that's, like I said, I will talk about Alhaji Ibrahim Idris at another stream. Now, this day that Alhaji Matazu sent for me, Alhaji Matazu, by the way, is from Katsina. And of course, if you're a Nigerian, somebody who knows about Nigeria, Alhaji Ibrahim Idris is from Kogi. It's not central. Katsina is a state in Nigeria now, still northwest. At that time, it was still part of Sokoto, okay? So Alhaji Matazu was like, Adewusi, yes, sir. Can you teach my children English? So why not? Gladly. So I became the children's English teacher and mathematics teacher at home. So when he's closing, I'll go to his office, he'll drive me to his home, I will teach the children. From day one, as I arrived, there was always this bowl of native milk. It's called, I think, Fura Dinon, with ginger and some spicy things. And I used to love it, they will present it to me when I finish my teaching. Not for free, he paid me to teach that I didn't ask for, but he insisted. No, you're a copper, you should support you. They paid me. That had gone on for a few months. And then one day, he sent for me again in his office. I went. And he said, Adewusi, I'm going to do something for you today that we only do for our friends, people we are close to, people we respect, we trust. Me, young man, if I was 25, yes, thereabout. I'm thinking money. Yeah. And I was waiting. So he was packing his things. I was thinking he was going to open his drawer and bring out some. How much was our allowance then? $200. But $200 was a lot of money. That's another story. So let's not mix this up or get this twisted. I'll come back to that in another stream when we talk about the economy. He said, we're going home. Okay, yeah, of course. It's a normal day to go to teach the children. So he got ready. We left. We drove home. In the cars we were driving, he asked me a question. Have you ever wondered who makes that fura de nono that you drink each time? I said, I don't know. And we continued. He didn't say nothing. We got home, my regular students, there were two of them, a boy and a girl. They were like 5, 3, 4, 5, no, not 3, 4, 5, 6, We're already waiting. And I arrived, we become friends, they embraced my feet. So, oh, hi, we got inside. We sat. And Alhaji Matazu asked me that question again. He said, you are going to meet the person who makes that furor do not know that you've been drinking. And she has a request from me. And the person, I didn't say she, and the person has a request. If you are familiar with structures, compound structures, I'm talking about how buildings, how the living, structures of the northern part, the compounds are, there's always a main building in front, and then there are some buildings at the back with something leading to. So he spoke with somebody in what I eventually got to know was Fufu, the language of the Fulani people of Nigeria, and well, of the Sahel, actually. And that person went and returned with somebody else in hijab, covered in hijab, completely covered. And he said, Adewusi, I told you I'm going to do something that we do to only the people we trust, we value, we respect. And by the way, I'm introducing you to the person that's been making the fraud and she has a request. I was still waiting for maybe the person brought money. Please don't get angry. It's true. All right. He proceeded to lift the veil of that hijab and reveal this nymph-like person behind the veil. She was so young, so, not baby. I'm not saying she was a baby, no. She was so beautiful. But her first son, the first child was, at that time, already at the Kaduna Polytechnic. Yes, okay? So we're not talking about who is a baby, no, okay? It was the mother of the younger ones, but her first son was already at the Polytechnic. And he said, this is the person that has been making the furor that you've been drinking. TikTok is asking me to be sure that I still want to be here. Yes, I still want to be here. Okay, we have a long way to go. And so she had a request. And they spoke. What I got to know was Fufu Day again. And he said that she's asking if I would want to also teach her English. Wow, why not? Why not? She also became my student. We started from ABC 1, 2, 3, English and mathematics. She joined the children from that day. The same Nigeria, where some people ganged up against somebody. When we are accusing ourselves and say it's because of this one private, it is what we do. Alhaji Matazu was Fulani. They didn't say because I'm from wherever to get to that level. What he said, it was much later. That time I didn't understand the whole, not that I didn't understand, I didn't pay so much attention about some of the things that people had hang-ups on. It was much later that I now realize the import of what he said. We only do this. You uncover the face of your wife to say this. It was much later that I understood it. It was Fulani. Alhaji Matazu eventually, I think, ended up at the National Assembly. You still have such Nigerians in that National Assembly. But there are some other group of Nigerians, like the ones who ganged up against a copper in Lagos at the National Assembly, who are bent on destroying instead of building, who are bent on focusing on things that divide instead of things that unite. That's not the vision of, the thinking of the visionaries of the National Youth Service Corps. Neither should it be our thinking as Nigerians, or the thinking of Nigerians for Nigeria. That's my point. For me, it was huge. I had Mr. Otufodunrin say the Corona News Service, National Youth Service was one of the biggest things that yes, that's on the general scale. But the relationships are built from people who had nothing to do with me. And some of the people who are there today, with us at Bodinga, were people like Kao De Fayemi, Tony Elumelu, so many others, so that I don't waste our time here. I'm not dropping names, but we can look at what they are doing today. Look at Lekan. You cannot give what you don't have. It's not possible. So let's start thinking about these things when we begin to say we want to elect somebody, we want to support somebody for one position or the other. You see a school dropout now, you ask him, what is your job? I'm a politician. Of course, he's a politician. He's a multi-part out. He's the one that's going to help them to carry ballot box, beat people up. Eventually, they pack him up, they package him. He ends up at the local government chairman. He ends up at the State House of Assembly. He ends up at the National Assembly. Those are the people in charge of Nigeria who have been in charge of, some of us have sat back to say, oh, it's their thing. No, it's not their thing. It must not be their thing. It's not their thing. It can't be their thing. If you think I'm getting too animated about, yes, I am. I'm angry. I've been angry over time because it's true. So, Mr. Otufodunrin, Okechukwu has not joined us. I'm welcoming you back. You've heard my story about how Nigeria happened for me. I will take your hear you. Let's hear your take on that as well.
Well, maybe just to put it into context, sometimes when people talk about how Nigeria happened to them, it seems to have a negative connotation. I don't know whether it's a recent thing, but no.
Sorry to. There's a difference between happen to you and happen for you. Okay.
Exactly.
I told two stories now. The first one was how Nigeria happened to me. I went to write statement in police station as a secondary school student that I shouldn't have. That's Nigeria happening to me. The youth corper got framed. Okay. Had his service extended, had his allowance halved. Nigeria happened to him. Now, the Matazu story is Nigeria happening for me. Okay? Our embracing our posting to Sokoto, enjoying it, looking for opportunities. I have not told the story about, the article you have in your, that's for, I'm going to tell that story to people on TikTok when we end the stream on YouTube, because that in itself opens a whole lot of, but in this Matazu story, this whole issue of is the Fulanis that are spoiling Nigeria. Can that be true?
Well, again, my contribution is that, like we started at the beginning, we can't accuse anybody of being responsible for what happened. We all play different roles. We all play different roles at every point in our lives. Our leaders, when we remember, like people talk about the good old days in this same country, people have come from all over the country, all over the part of the country, and they've distinguished themselves. Sometimes just that sometimes we have prejudices. We have things that divide us. We have circumstances that make us think that maybe somebody is not as better as us. But more importantly, like we're talking about, so Nigeria can either happen to you or happen for you, depending on circumstances and things like that. At any point in time, Nigeria happens to all of us. Nigeria happens to us when things don't go right. Nigeria happens to us when rules are violated, when basic rights are denied. And I dare say that as it happens also in other parts of the world, So even in America, that is far so much democracy or open world, America also
Really?
happened to them.
A
Yes,
lot of
it
people will not
happened to
agree
them.
with you with that anymore. No, not
They
Bible of
may
democracy.
not.
Some people will not agree with you.
It happened. It's a global world. We see some of the worst forms of oppression or system. I mean, even in the, just let me paraphrase this. This morning I was with somebody who just returned from Europe. Is a pastor, and he was telling me, say, but Lekan, people are going through challenges in Europe. Oh. So when we came back home, and my wife was saying, I said, look, everywhere in the world there are challenges. It's just that the environment is different. Yes, we wake up with 24 hours light. Yes, there's work to do, but there are realities that hit you as citizens of every part of the world.
You wake up with 24
when
hours
there are
light, it's not
even
free.
environmental. Yes. So when, for example, you stay in your corner of Nigeria and you are watching hurricane, whatever happening in some parts of the world, and you are wondering, is it that they don't have government that should have done something about it? Well, too bad. But again, just to say that the reality is that at one point in time, things happen, but we must speak out. I think that's what is important. We must live up to the values that we stand for. And if things are not going right, we must speak out. And that's why, for me, as a journalist over the years, I mean, I'm dating back, like we said, back to Sokoto State, I served in Sokoto State with all my heart, and I dare say it prepared me very well. I met people that years after I'm still meeting them. I live with people who, I mean, I can look back. I mean, one of our classmates is the new dean of School of Communication, University of Lagos. His name is Tona Sunday. We served together. It was in the NYSC when we were in the same cell. We served in Sokoto State, and it talks about, so we've come a long journey. So, and for me, Nigeria has happened for me in many ways. I've been privileged to benefit from different opportunities. I have worked in different organizations that Nigerians established. I worked in Punch for more than 14 years. The man who started it was barely 40 or whatever when he started Punch. I worked in Nation recently. And so the thing I think the point that, without telling too much story, the point to be made is that we must maximize what is possible. And we must improve on the system on our own. So today there are people coming up with new invention that is making life better. I mean, some of these things have been used in some other places. Today, sometimes people just marvel at how technology makes it possible for us to exchange money, to pass many things around. And you see even people who go abroad come back to Nigeria and have studied our system and say, so something is wrong. Let's reinvent this country. So I think that is what is important for me. But not to live, we are not saying we should live in denial. So for example, in journalism, there's something we are teaching called solution journalism. And the first response people say, like, look, what are you talking? Where is the solution? There's too much problem in this country, problem in Nigeria. I said, yes. But even within the problem that is many, there are progress. So when you hear people say, this government is not doing anything, I say, is it a statement of fact? It is not. Government is not doing enough.
When you say, government is not, you're not to take it away from you. But then,
okay.
When people say, when we talk about progress journalism, and people say there's too much problem, let's just not, let's take that into the general populace. It's the same feeling that people have about election. It's the same feeling that people have about the economy. If we go to vote, it won't count. So why do we even bother? Why did I start Just It magazine? I've just stated it here. It's a solution. It's solution journalism. You say we are wasted generation. No, I will show you. Why am I doing this program? Why don't I just sit here and drink my coffee and do some other things? Most of us are spending our life dancing on TikTok, laughing. All of us cannot keep laughing and creating content that make the people who are making things go terrible keep clapping and say, yeah, just keep dancing. Distractions. That's what's going on. They're happy when you are creating those content or you're interested. I don't care whether it is one person that's watching this stream or not. I've done my bit. I'm doing my bit, and that has been my life. Okay? Do your bit. Like Mr. Otufodunrin is saying, is action. The people who sat down to design the NYSC, to talk about creating it, they didn't know how it's going to end up, but they had to start it. So what has happened to the NYSC is not the creators that have created them. It comes with implementation. It comes with the next governance. Government is a continuum. Has to be. Must be. So if people do not think that something, okay, it's not working now, does it mean it can't work forever? Which, like I said at the beginning, you are born into a poor family. Okay, you fold your hand and say, because your parents are poor, that you remember, is that who you are? Of course, that's not. That's not. Okay, so, sorry, I cut in. Solution journalism, those journalists listening to us, I know that there are some interns that wanted to join us in the room, in the stream here. They are probably following on YouTube. Guys, if you don't do something, nothing shifts. I must tell you this. Okay? I must tell you this. It's for people like you who are doing this stream. It's for people like you that were here. I could do, where I live, this program starts at 8 a.m. where I live. I live in Montreal, I live in Canada. This is 8 o'clock when this program starts. I should be sleeping. People ask you, Rich, what's your problem? Why don't you just forget? Forget what? So that would mean that everything I had believed, everything I had done, from writing that article 40 years ago, from convincing a group of, contemporaries, my friends, to say, let us write drama skits, let us talk about social issues, let us go into the communities in old Sokoto State, to challenge cultural and traditional norms that were making young girls not to go to school. 40 years ago. Okay? And we made successes. We made some progress. So, guys, listen. You see, we didn't label this thing, guys. So want to speak your language, all of you. We are old men, Abby. We are not old. We're not. Okay? This is about doing, speaking. You that you are not the interns, you are not the journalists, you are not. If you do not tell your story, okay, nobody else will tell your story on your behalf. Nobody. Okay, nobody else. Some of the things that people don't want you to say, it is because your silence is going to benefit them. Not that, oh, it makes you a better person, it makes you a more cultured person. No, you are cultured by covering up their lies. You're cultured. That's what cultured means, but then you are cheating yourself. On the issues and challenges of Nigeria people, all of us are the prey. All of us are the predators, depending on the cycle. Yeah? People don't speak in Nigeria either because they're already at the table or they are waiting for their turn at the table. How long is that going to continue for? You're waiting to be appointed to something, or you're waiting for one contract or the other. Because of that, you see the truth, you will not say it. And you want things to get better. No. The people who created the NYSC had a wonderful, wonderful program. Lekan, I just said it. I'm for it. Okay? Why is Nigeria insecure? Why do we have banditry? Why are there terrorists all over Nigeria? Why have the government? Is there no government? There's government in place. Know how much that government has budgeted, has spent over the years on security? And we are still where we are. Another election cycle is coming up. The issue of banditry, terrorism, insurgency will increase. Why does it happen that way? You should begin to ask questions. You should begin to see patterns. You should begin to say, no, this is not us. the people, the founding fathers of Nigeria, colonialists or whoever, they've gone. They left it to you. You cannot leave it to them. You cannot leave it to them. You cannot say, oh, it's up to them, whatever. No, 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 no. It's us. Okay? So I thank you for being part of this program. Unfortunately, Okechukwu was still caught up in that traffic, couldn't join us, but we're glad we had Mr. Otufodunrin with us here. Mr. Otufodunrin, your parting, comments for the stream today, because I know I'm going to drag you back here. We have a lot to talk about, so please don't say no.
So let me just say again, thank you for doing this. And like we said, we can do our part. We can all do our part. I mean, simple things about doing our part. And it doesn't matter whether you're in Nigeria or anywhere in the world. I watched some Facebook videos about some Nigerians abroad, educating people about how to live their life, even if they are coming, what they should guide against, the realities, the false promises, the things they need to watch about. So we all have our role that we can play in any part we find ourselves. I think that's what is important. And at that point you made about everybody becoming content creator is something that is also worrisome. But the thing is that people should create content, but they should create it with a lot of sense. They should address issues that people can learn from, that can inspire people, that can change the face of this country, that can tell the true story of what Nigeria is. It's sad how people perceive us because of what we reinforce ourselves. Recently, some young people put a book together talking about In My Honor, and they interviewed one Kenyan who said that when they first met me, that I defied all the impression they had about Nigerians. That they have a way of, the moment they say Nigerian in their country, they have a way, but I defied everything. So we can be different. We can let the world know that we are great people, not just in size, in what we do, and that, like we say, to use the language of we can take this country back. And it's one by one.
We must.
We can take this country back one by one. We can do our bit. We can reinvent NYC if we want to. We can come up with new ideas. It's a big boot camp. There are many ways to call some of these things. There are things we can do. We must not be tired of suggestions. Sometimes we think people are not listening. You never know who is picking up on information, and they're going to use it somewhere. So don't let us give up. Do your best, but maximize what is available. I think that's my final shot. Thank you.
Let it not be your final shot. We're being accused of something here, so let's not agree with them.
Questions.
Some contributors that have sent questions and comments and say, "Oh, it seems like you're ending the stream. What's going on? What's that?" So please,
so let's have
this here. Well, just a comment here. I will never forget my NYSC days way back in 1990. What is happening in the youth program today is sad, very sad. That's a comment. Okay, NYSC is truly unforgettable experience. That's another comment. But there's a question here. In your opinion, has the NYSC program fulfilled its founding dream of promoting unity, or has it fallen short, Mr. Otufodunrin?
Well, I think the circumstance that gave room to NYSC is not exactly what we have now. But notwithstanding, I think it's still that kind of uniting us, especially now that many young people grew up in one community, went to primary school there, they never know beyond. Sometimes when people are making comments online, you wonder which part of this country they know beyond where they stay. But the point is that NYSC can be better, it can be remodeled. There are new ways of doing the things that we used to do. So we need to discuss some of these things. In terms of uniting this country, it provides an abundant opportunity to unite us, because we need to know our country better.
It has not united us, but it has opportunity. I agree.
Yes,
to that.
There's a lot of opportunity. Yes.
There's another question here that the person actually mentioned you specifically. So, Mr. Lekan, as an experienced journalist, how has NYSC been portrayed in Nigerian media over the decades. Do you think the coverage has been fair and balanced?
Well, for me, I think the coverage has been fair and balanced in the sense that all over the country, there are media organizations. So sometimes we are seeing from our own narrow perspective. For every day I go on LinkedIn, I see young people serving across Nigeria talking about what is the problem is that sometimes we are looking at the traditional media alone, and the world is going so. There's reporting and there's opportunity for individuals to report themselves. You know, great things. I mean, let me share this with you. It's not directly related, but just shows how it's possible. So we launched a book recently called Punch Years. Some of us came together and we wrote a book called Our Punch Years. And at the launch, Showore came to that book launch. The same Showore of Sahara Reporters came. And he said the reason why he came was that one of the things that saved him was Punch when he was a youth corper. He was locked up, but nobody knew about it. He was a youth corper because he was presenting a program. Again, that's one of the things. In all those states, corpers are presenting various programs talking. They were presenting a program, and his usual self, he started his advocacy. Maybe he brought a wrong guest or something. So anyway, something happened at the lockup. It was a Punch reporter that reported that a youth corper is being locked up somewhere. And that was how he was saved from that thing that would have disappeared. But back to your questions, again, we all have opportunity of reporting. You know, I've seen youth corpers whose service have been extended because they reported, they went beyond their brief, you know. So the media is reporting, but again, we all can report. Where the traditional media is not living up to expectation, we can go online and report what is happening. But we must also remember, again, I want to tell people, there are rules of engagement everywhere in the world. Yeah. There are rules of engagement. We can criticize government by enforcing rules. Sometimes I ask myself, if some of the people advocating for freedom today become government, are we going to live in a lawless country? No.
But then some of them have become, some of them are in government. We know, listen, we have a long way to go in this live stream. We will come to all of them. There are people in this same set that we're talking about 40 years ago who are in government. Okay? So we'll come to that. People say, oh, when I get there. And that's why it's key. That issue of must we do things the way our parents did things? Okay? Must we? Okay. Let me not digress. There's another question here. It's still to you. Everybody seems to. If you had the power to design the NYSC from scratch for today's Nigeria, what would you change first?
That's a tough one. It's something that I really need to know. I've learned that you don't just give an instant answer. But
the stream will end now. So
okay, so what I will say is that we need to evaluate. I mean, like we are learning language of evaluation. What has worked, what has not worked. We need to get feedback.
Okay, pick one thing that you know or suspect has not worked, that you really know is a challenge for the NYSC. What would you do about it?
I think in deploying people, we need to think about how to ensure that people don't just waste those years, you know, dumping people into things that cannot add up. That's what I would think, you know, because some of the frustrations as young people talk about is that sometimes when they go to this NYSC, they need to understand the principle. But where it is possible, we need stakeholders to really come out and see how people can really maximize those years. And I'm proud to say that at least 3 of my children have gone to NYSC. 2 of them went to Akwa Ibom, and they are glad for it. You
know. Well, that's cool. That's cool. So that we too will have produced a generation of core members. Yes. We have. Yes. You know. Yes. The last question here, incidentally, is also for you. They didn't ask me any questions. It's also for you. The NYSC scheme is to provide practical experience and help reduce unemployment in Nigeria. Okay, what are the reasons for the high unemployment in Nigeria? I suppose you say high in the percentage of unemployment, whatever, high unemployment in Nigeria.
What the unemployment
I think you spoke part of it. You actually took part of it in your earlier response.
NYSC is not the only reason why we have unemployment. But it is if the NYSC is working well, if people have the opportunity of innovating, probably if that 1 year is a real opportunity for people to brainstorm, to be able to experiment. You know, somebody said one of the solutions to unemployment is to create jobs that don't exist before. So we must have that opportunity where we can really get people to really be creative. So unemployment is a function of the economy, many things, but it's also about our opportunity to diversify and learn from things that are emerging. So that NYC is not just for, sometimes people think it's a getaway. No, it's an opportunity for people to really sit down and say, look, I studied this. How can we come up with new ideas? What are the new jobs that we can come up with? And there must be an ambience for people to experiment. That's very, very important. We must allow people to experiment. That's why we should not just force people to say, deploy to one school or whatever. It's good to be able to teach, but let's have incubation opportunities during those NYC where people can review what is not working and come up with new ideas.
Okay, I'm going to ask you my own question now, leading from that.
Okay.
From an experience that you know about, okay? And then maybe we also see from it the role that other sectors of the government, other departments play in, like you said, it's not only one thing that, you know, stalls, creates unemployment. You showed the article that you know, you have an idea of how we formed that drama group. Okay.
Yes.
We funded that drama group by ourselves from our allowances. We built the stage light. We hired the generator. We fueled the NYSC truck that took us from Bringing Kebi to Yauri to Zuru to Kotrokoshi to Shafe to Gusau. We toured the old Sokoto state. I don't want to start this here. I wanted to, but it would be unfair to the YouTube group people. You talked about our truck breaking down. I was in that football team. I hope you remember.
Yes.
That represented Sokoto when we went to that for that tournament in Ilorin. When that vehicle broke down, stopped in the middle of the road. Nobody. People will run to you and give things to you because you are putting that uniform on. You had that cap on. They respected you. But then why I'm going to the NYSC itself, when it now comes to that issue of inspiring, yes, they give us the truck to use. How are we going to transport ourselves? The truck was both our movement space, was also our residence. On all of those, you know, journeys around the old Sokoto state. Now, we were not doing any of those things because we wanted some kind of reward. We just saw it was something that needed to be done. Now, the NYSC had an award. Listen, okay? The NYSC award, okay? When you are talking about you should inspire, you should create, we used drama to challenge social issues, to bring social issues, specifically female genital mutilation, girl marriage, child marriage, okay? And then not allowing the girl children to go to school, marry them off instead of. Those were the three main issues we challenged, or rather we, you know, presented to, you know, the community. Okay, this, you can change this. Your children can be better. Your female children, give them a chance, and all of that. Now, when it now came to giving the award, yes, we were not. I wasn't even thinking about the awards. I wasn't even. And I don't think that has changed it today. I don't think it has changed. The people they would usually will give award are people who mold one figure and go and put in some public space, yeah, and that would be it. Okay, there was no other form of recognition. There was no other form of support for that. You would think that for a group like our NYSC, for the kind of thing that we did, that they could have encouraged subsequent cohorts to go on continue with those informal, if you like, developmental programming, it's served a role. I feel so, well, sorry Okechukwu was not here. Okechukwu has always talked about the drama, that drama group in Sokoto as what really opened his eye that he can get to do things. There were other people. We have Thorpe, Lawale, so many people. But those efforts were not recognized. Okay?
Yes.
Today, Nollywood is huge, right? Right. But we introduce things that could have continued. We don't see those chances. We keep, it's people, Nigeria is still focused on, you didn't study medicine, you didn't study engineering, you didn't study architecture. So in the issue of awarding, giving the awards, it was people who studied architecture, who could mold things and put in public spaces. Ask me what that does for the community, really. I don't know. You understand? So now, what do you think? It's not a case of what do you think. It's like I'm answering my own question myself. Okay. So what would be your, reaction to that?
Well, I think that's one of the drawbacks of NYSC. One of the challenges I think with NYSC is that sometimes some of the people managing it don't have a sense of appreciation of the diversity of people that they are trying to mold. They don't understand that is sometimes the first attempt for people to understand governance. And when nepotism, when creativity is not acknowledged, people can be very disappointed. Not to talk of this generation where they easily get to use their language pissed off, so to say. So
instant gratification. Instant gratification. Yes. If it doesn't happen, forget it.
Yes, but I think people who run NYSC should also need to understand how to sustain the benefit. So it should not be that one camp close today, and until the next camp is coming, that's when they are running over the place. That's part of the challenge that I see. From some states, you find that today they are using this camp. There's no continuity. We must build in a system where there's a continuity in those operations, where one set is handing over to the other set, and they sustain those things. I think that is one of the great things that they need to do. If not, people just feel like just fulfilling all righteousness. It's not. In fact, I tell people, NYSC is an opportunity for you to experiment and sustain your ideas. And there should be some opportunity to even come back and meet. So there should be intersect continuation. That way, people will have expectations. One last point I want you will start, and I think that's very important too. So that's why people must know that things are changing. You're talking about people they give awards. It's the same thing that we are seeing where we need to understand what has changed in this world. I'm a journalist. Some of the best journalists I know didn't study journalism. They studied science, they studied languages and some other things like that. So for people who administer, so even the people who are NYSC officials themselves need to also brush up in the understanding of the people that they are managing. They should not manage them with their old sense. They should know that things have changed. If they don't do that, there will be protest, there will be rebellion. They will not understand. So the civil service mentality of just like these people are just come here and they just mismanage them. Sometimes they end up mismanaging young people and their ego are bruised. I know that we are supposed to train them, but we must also give them, it's what they see that they believe. If they're not seeing that you are transparent in what they are doing, they will doubt you. But more importantly, like we said, we all have a stake in this country. If things are not working, let's talk about it. Let's ensure that we don't allow things to develop.
Okay, thank you so very much, Mr. Lekan Otufodunrin. And this has been for me, it's been an exciting episode of the Say Prayer, guys. May Nigeria never happen to you. And we mean that with all sense of seriousness, that may Nigeria never really happen to you. And like Mr. Lekan said, sometime at the point in this program, Nigeria has happened to all of us. All of us. So Nigeria happens to every Nigerian on a daily basis. Light is not there. Nigeria is happening to you. Water, security, Nigeria is happening to all Nigerians every day. So we cannot hide from these things. It's talking about them does not mean you are picking on one person. I'm not interested in any particular individual. But if you decide to take a job, do the job. Okay? If you apply for a job, contesting an election is applying for a job. I don't want to go into the stories of who won, who didn't win. You contested an election, okay? Do the job for the election for which, you know, that you contested, and serve the nation. Put Nigeria first. There's too much parochialism. There's too much religious, tribal bigotry all over the place. So many things that don't make sense, that would only create more problem. Why are we tearing down the things that the people who are before us have built? For any person you are discriminating against when they post them to where you are a saboteur. As a matter of fact, you're a traitor. Okay? The NYSC is what you will call in some other countries, should be the reserve service of the military services, okay? The National Guard, for instance, like in the US and all of that. But, well, the trainings really don't get to that because it's, again, nobody has actually also thought about it that way or those ways, all right? So the NYSC, I don't think has lost the purposes for which it was founded, but needs a lot more restructuring. For me, for that person who asked that question, what would you change? He didn't ask me that question, okay? What needs to be changed is still affects the entire population. Security. You can't send people's children, you can't send Nigerians to harm's way. And that's happening on a daily basis. And then people are refusing to go to places. Parents are saying, my child is not going to go there. Some of us have said that for good reasons, okay? But that would not help us. That has not helped. It's not going to help. We didn't start the stream to tear anything. We start to call people out, call situations out, call issues out, so that they can be attended to. They can be, I mean, those who are, you know, paid, yes, paid to do those jobs, get those jobs done, or get the hell out of those places. Unfortunately, people don't want to make spaces for people who could get things done, to get there to do those things. Instead, you want to get things done, you are getting things done, you become public enemy number one. But don't worry if you are, you know, in that group of you want things done, you are getting things done, and you are targeted. If you are not doing anything worthwhile, nobody will target you. So don't worry, keep doing what you are doing. But please know that baked cakes finish. Okay? Baked cakes finish. The NYSC program is designed to help us get together, appreciate ourselves, appreciate other cultures, other traditions, other tribes, other tongues. When we served, there was a booklet, I don't know if it's still there, had 3 Nigerian languages to help you brush up quickly, know what to say, depending on where you send language. Those were the ideals. Why are those ideals not being carried into governance as people grow? Why do we retard, retrogress instead of progressing in terms of our bonding? Those are questions that need to be asked. Even in the NYSC itself, it's not like it used to be. Okay? There are places you will send my grandchildren, well, all my children have graduated, they have served. Okay? So my grandchildren, I said, no, don't go. But my father didn't say, no, you are not going to support it, because it was well relatively safe. It wasn't that there were no issues, but there were issues that the authorities were on top of them as they happen. I'll give one as I round up. In that same Sokoto, I don't know of now. Then almost all the churches in Sokoto town were on one street, lined up one after the other on one street. So if there was going to be any social issues, any problems, religious, the Muslims will go to mosque on Fridays, and somehow the security authority, the security agencies know, they get the information, they know what, they would have gone to position personnel and those churches so that nothing happened. And by the time the people that are gone to mosque and somebody has fired them up, because the firing up didn't start today, that's what we're saying, but people were professional enough to know they were to protect lives and property of Nigerians, whoever they are, Nigerians. So the military and other security agents would have lined up on those churches so that, nothing will happen to the churches. I experienced that. I saw it. What has happened to Nigeria? What has happened to the security? Why would coppers be sent to places and then be carried back home in coffins? Why? Not only coppers. Okay, but we're talking today about coppers. So that's why I picked up that. So I want to thank you so very much. I want to thank Mr. Lekan Otufodunrin. Okechukwu Uwaezuoke, is possible you are following this on YouTube. Is possible. Thank you for wanting to be here. You are well again. You are going to be here with me every week going forward. So we miss you for today. Okay, and Black Rice, we wish you well, wish you good health. We wish that the medical issue that took you for an appointment gets taken care of. And for everyone who had joined us today on YouTube, on TikTok, don't go away. Our show just started. Okay, we thank you and say, please support the stream, subscribe, make your comments so that we can talk to ourselves. That's what we're doing here. Tell our stories. Maybe somebody will listen to the stories. Maybe somebody will learn something from the stories. Maybe somebody will decide to do something that he or she is in a position to do concerning the issues we raised in the stories. So thank you so very much for being part of our show today on YouTube. My name is still Richie Adewusi. This is still Say a Prayer, guys. May Nigeria never happen to you. But our prayer on this program is, may Nigeria happen for all Nigerians and friends of Nigeria. Thank you so very much. Bye-bye. See you next week.
Thank you. Bye for now.
Recording stopped.